Imagine surviving the Titanic disaster. You tell yourself, there's no way that could ever happen again. Then, just 4 years later, you step onto another gigantic ship. It's even bigger, even safer, built with everything engineers learned from the Titanic. They promise you, this one can't fail. Yeah, about that. Because on the morning of November 21st, 1916, a violent explosion ripped through the side of the world's largest hospital ship. The crew froze. Nobody knew exactly what had happened. Had they hit another iceberg? Was it a German submarine? A hidden mine? Or something even stranger? Within minutes, thousands of tons of water began rushing inside. Passengers and nurses raced through the corridors. Lifeboats swung into the air. Steam roared from deep inside the ship, and somehow, the captain had to make an impossible decision: keep moving, or stop immediately. That decision would save many lives, but also lead to one of the most horrifying accidents ever recorded at sea. This is the story of HMHS Britannic, the Titanic's younger sister, the biggest ship in the world when she entered service. A ship designed so carefully, everyone believed she could survive almost anything. But here's the crazy part: Britannic never carried a single paying passenger. She was built for luxury, yet spent her entire career carrying wounded soldiers during World War I, and despite all the improvements made after Titanic, Britannic would still end up resting on the bottom of the sea. So, how could history repeat itself? And why did one captain's desperate decision accidentally create one of the most terrifying moments in maritime history? To answer that, we need to go back before the First World War, back to the company that refused to let the Titanic disaster be the end of its story. Because Britannic wasn't built to be remembered, she was built to restore confidence. After the Titanic disaster, shipbuilders knew one thing: they could never let this happen again. Britannic was redesigned from top to bottom. More watertight compartments were added, stronger walls separated different sections of the ship. A double hull protected the engine rooms, even larger lifeboat systems were installed. Engineers believed Britannic could survive flooding that would have doomed Titanic. On paper, she was the safest ship ever built. There was just one problem: nature and war don't read instruction manuals. Before Britannic could begin carrying wealthy passengers, Europe exploded into World War I. Luxury suddenly became the last thing anyone cared about. Hospitals overflowed with wounded soldiers. The British government needed enormous hospital ships. Britannic was the perfect choice. Her elegant dining rooms became hospital wards. Luxury cabins became recovery rooms. Grand staircases echoed with doctors, nurses and stretchers instead of wealthy tourists. The outside of the ship was painted white. Giant green stripes stretched across both sides. Huge red crosses were added. These markings told everyone, this is a hospital ship. According to international law, hospital ships were not supposed to be attacked. Unfortunately, war isn't always fair. During several successful missions, Britannic transported thousands of injured soldiers. Doctors admired the ship, patients trusted her, the crew believed they were sailing aboard the safest ship ever built. Then, November 21st, 1916 arrived. The sea looked calm, the weather was beautiful, nothing seemed unusual, until 8:12 in the morning. A massive explosion shook the entire ship. Everything changed in less than 2 seconds. The explosion came from the starboard side. The entire ship shuddered, plates twisted, water rushed into the lower compartments. At first, nobody knew the cause. Today, historians believe Britannic most likely struck a German naval mine. The mine had been secretly laid only weeks earlier. Captain Charles Bartlett reacted immediately. He ordered distress signals. The crew began preparing lifeboats. But unlike Titanic, Britannic was still moving. The captain hoped to beach the ship on a nearby island, if he could reach shallow water. Hundreds of lives could be saved. Then something terrible happened. Some crew members panicked. Without permission, they lowered lifeboats into the sea. While the giant propellers were still spinning, imagine standing next to the world's biggest blender. Now imagine floating directly toward it. That's exactly what happened. Several lifeboats drifted into the enormous propellers. They were destroyed instantly. It became one of the most horrifying moments of the entire disaster. Captain Bartlett immediately stopped the engines, but for those boats, it was already too late. Meanwhile, water continued flooding the ship. Some portholes had been left open to ventilate the hospital wards. As Britannic listed to one side, seawater poured through them. Rooms that should have stayed dry, filled with water. The extra safety features couldn't keep up. The ship was losing the battle. Everyone now understood, Britannic wasn't going to survive. The race to escape had begun, just 55 minutes after the explosion. The largest ship in the world disappeared beneath the Aegean Sea. Britannic had sunk. Amazingly, more than 1,000 people survived. Only 30 lives were lost. Compared to Titanic, the difference was incredible: better evacuation procedures, more lifeboats, warships, and nearby vessels responding quickly. All helped save hundreds of people. The lessons learned from Titanic had truly made a difference, but questions remained. How could the safest ship ever built sink so quickly? Investigations later concluded that the explosion, combined with open portholes and the captain's attempt to reach shallow water, allowed water to spread much faster than expected. Sometimes, a ship doesn't fail because of one mistake, it fails because many small problems happen at exactly the wrong time. For decades, Britannic rested silently beneath the sea. In 1975, the famous explorer Jacques Cousteau located the wreck. Today, Britannic remains one of the best preserved ocean liners ever discovered. She lies on her side, more than 100 meters below the surface, almost frozen in time. Divers still visit her today, carefully exploring hallways that once echoed with doctors, nurses and wounded soldiers. Britannic may never have enjoyed the fame of Titanic, but her story is just as remarkable. She proved that even the safest designs cannot eliminate every risk, yet she also proved something else. Human beings learn. The changes made after Titanic helped save more than 1,000 lives aboard Britannic. Sometimes, the greatest victory isn't preventing every disaster. It's making sure history doesn't repeat itself in exactly the same way. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Britannic deserves to be just as famous as Titanic? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.